it ahead in transition. Nice Euro step.
Now Jordan left wing. Alley-oop on the waist. Mitchell lobbed to the rim. Washington trickles out and throws it.
He'll take the three-pointer. That one drops in. What a big-time shot.
And welcome to the 2017 MAAC Basketball Championships on ESPN3. Tonight, from the Times Union Center in Albany, New York, it's a first-round matchup between the 8th-seeded Quinnipiac Bobcats and the number 9 seed Niagara Purple Eagles. 11 teams dreaming of cutting down the nets Monday night. And what we have here tonight, first-round games for the right to move on to the quarterfinals tomorrow and Saturday. So the top seed Monmouth, the number 2 seed St. Peter's, the 3 seed Iona, and then the 4 and 5 seeds Siena and Fairfield already waiting in the quarterfinals, and we will see who survives here tonight. And welcome everybody to Albany. Doug Sherman along with Rob Kennedy. So glad you could join us here for a chance to see 11 different teams dreaming of still making it to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and everybody can throw out their records, including these two teams that have lost a combined 11 straight. They can forget about it because there's still hope. And even Monmouth, who's 18-2, they've got to forget about that. What you got to do right now is focus in on trying to win your way into the NCAA tournament.
Okay, and in this first game, the 8-9 between Quinnipiac and Niagara, we've got some star power. We begin with an all-conference guard, Matt Scott, for the Purple Eagles.
Matt Scott's been honored each of the last 2 years as part of the third team. He's one of those guys, Doug, that can score it at the rim, can keep you honest from beyond the three, but the strength of his game is the mid-range game. We don't see it as much in college basketball, but from 15 feet, he's real effective, averaging over 17 a game on the season for the Purple Eagles. On the other side for Quinnipiac, they've got a star freshman backcourt led by Mikey Dixon. Dixon has been honored 6 times as the Rookie of the Week in the MAAC. He's fearless, not afraid to go inside, but it's his three-point shooting at 37% that sets everything up from the outside. As you said, a couple of stars. You look at their numbers, 5th and 6th in the MAAC in scoring. You see, as we mentioned, third team for Scott, and then all-rookie team, unanimous selection, and I can guarantee you tomorrow, not guarantee you, but I think he should be the Rookie of the Year, and I think he will be tomorrow when that's announced at 10:30.
I agree with you, Rob. Again, our I Love New York key players brought to you by I Love New York, New York State. It's all here. It's only here. Starting lineups brought to you by BSN Sports. First for Niagara, Chris Barton helps to space the floor for Dukes and Scott. They're 2 dynamic playmakers. Maurice Taylor Jr. back in the starting lineup, and Dominic Robb among the candidates for Defensive Player of the Year in the MAAC. For Quinnipiac, Mikey Dixon, Daniel Harris, Peter Kiss in the backcourt, and then Shays Daniels and Abdoulaye Bundu round out the starting 5 for the Bobcats, who come in with an overall record of 10-20, Niagara at 9-22. But again, as Rob just said, well, if you're Coach Casey, you throw those numbers out the window, because what you're focused on now is winning 4 games over the next 5 days and advancing on to the NCAA tournament. It can certainly be done. Tom Moore's team trending in the wrong direction heading into Albany. They last won a game way back on the 6th of February. But again, Quinnipiac, with a dynamic young backcourt, has the ability to knock off pretty much anybody here in this field of 11. Series history, 12th meeting between these two schools. Quinnipiac in its 4th year in the MAAC. Niagara has been a member of this conference since 1989, and we are set for basketball. Rob Kennedy.
There you go. And it was indeed Quinnipiac that won both the regular season matchups this year, but they were weird games. How about the first game? Quinnipiac was down by 14 late in the second half, stormed back to win. And in the second game, they led by as many as 26 points early in that ball game, to only see Niagara come back with the chance to cut it to 3 late in the ball game.
And not surprisingly, Rob, in those 2 regular season matchups, both Peter Kiss and Mikey Dixon were dynamic. They averaged each 20.5 points per game. So Niagara certainly defensively needs to address that here in the third matchup, the tiebreaker, if you will, for a spot in the quarterfinal round. Taylor left wide open, and that's not what you'd expect for the first 3 points of the night.
No, and Taylor, as we said, getting the unexpected start. Surprising, because he's 0 for from beyond the three-point line. That's his first three-point field goal attempt of the season. So I guess he leads the country in three-point field goal percentage.
A perfect 1-for-1. Bundu misfires. Dukes and Daniels went after it. And it's Niagara basketball. Rob, how does that happen? And how does he go the whole season without taking that shot? And you know why he's wide open there, but he stepped up and confidently knocked it down like he's been doing it all year.
Because like we said, everybody can dream. Forget about the fact you've lost 5 in a row. Just try to win 4 in a row, and the next thing you know is you're dancing.
Now the winner of this game will get Monmouth in the quarterfinal round. Here's Dukes, the former USC Trojan, off the mark. Daniels had the ball for a moment, lost it out of bounds, and so Niagara will keep. Chris Casey in his 4th year as head coach at Niagara. This is year 10 for Tom Moore at Quinnipiac. And Scott is fouled by Daniel Harris, the senior from Tampa, Florida. And Harris, back in November into early December, was averaging over 10 points per game, but his offensive numbers have slid regularly over the last 3 months.
Yeah, this is a guy that averaged over 10 points a game last year when he shot it at 41% from beyond the three, one of the best in the MAAC. He just hadn't been able to make shots this year, especially as of late. That three-point field goal percentage down to under 31% this year.
He picks up the foul, but off the turnover, the Bobcats get the ball, and so Harris inbounds against some pressure put forth by Niagara. Peter Kiss all alone. He misses his first shot of the night. Bundu whistled for a travel. Well, Quinnipiac really does have a big three. Dixon, Kiss, and Daniels. But after that, you've got a big drop-off. Dukes misses. Bundu clears. If the Bobcats are going to be successful, they need buckets like that. Daniels with a rim run off the feed from Kiss.
Well, neither one of these teams is particularly good in the half court, but if they can get out and run in transition, that's where you can get some easy baskets. But you're right, Doug. One of the keys for Quinnipiac, can they get a 4th or 5th score to go along with those big three that have been pretty consistent all season long?
Kiss saves it, but it goes to Niagara. And now the officials switch the call, and it will stay down at this end as we take another look. Clearly off of Quinnipiac. I believe the official knew what he wanted to call, just pointed the wrong direction. 17:35 remaining, just underway at the 2017 MAAC Championships. Here at the most common home of this event over the years, ever since Siena, which is the home tenant here in this building, joined the league in '89. Scott off the pull-up for 2.
Deep guarded 2, but again, Matt Scott, one of those guys, could string it together. Had 20 points the last time these two teams met, most of those in the second half.
And you know, he's the rare guy in this day and age, Rob, who didn't play AAU basketball, played for a small high school. Matt Scott from Brooklyn out of Law and Tech High. He's the only guy from his alma mater to get a Division I scholarship over the years, and his growth has been dramatic over the last 3 years. Pass intended for Scott, well over the mark. It's a turnover charged against Chris Barton. Scott, 3rd team All-MAAC a year ago, 3rd team All-MAAC again this year, and so the last time a Niagara player was honored by the MAAC consecutive years, that was Antoine Mason, the last back-to-back Purple Eagle honoree. Harris turns it over. Both teams a bit sloppy here early.
Yeah, that's just unforced. It's not as if there was enough pressure up in the backcourt to turn it over.
Taylor back to Dukes. Dukes is one of those guys who can just get buckets. He can score them in bunches. He and Scott are quite a 1-2 combo. Dukes averaging 15.5 points per game. Here he is in the corner, saving it back to Taylor.
And he had a career-high 29 against Quinnipiac the last time these two teams met.
Dukes airballs it. Out of bounds back to Quinnipiac. And so Phil Winston comes into the ball game, and we should mention that Quinnipiac's backcourt is lacking Reggie Oliver due to a death in the family.
His grandmother passed away, and he's back down in Florida.
And it has been a tough year for the Bobcats, and losing dear family members this year. We'll talk about that a little bit. 8 to shoot. Dixon off the pass fake, misfires. Taylor's been active.
And good energy defensively for Niagara out of the zone.
Taylor, the jump stop, and he lays it in.
Well, Taylor making the most of an unexpected start for him. Doing a good job getting Niagara into the scoring column early. They lead 7-2 here in Albany.
Watch off the top, Niagara leading 7-2. We expected Matt Scott to be the guy, but so far it's been Maurice Taylor with 5 of the 7 Purple Eagle points. Quinnipiac struggling from the perimeter so far, now 0 for 5 from distance.
And just forcing up too many threes against the zone defense. You got to probe, get the basketball inside, and then kick it back out.
5 minutes gone. Rob sets the screen for Scott, gets it back on the pick and pop. Around and out. Scott crashing the glass for 2.
And Scott does a good job crashing the glass. 7th best in the MAAC at 7 rebounds per game.
Well, he's so long and so active. He's among the league leaders in steals as well. Certainly well deserving of making 3rd team All-MAAC. And certainly if Niagara had had more success as a team, you could have made a case for Scott maybe on the 2nd team. But good for the junior from Brooklyn to get that award. And I don't know if you remember, Rob, Matt Scott telling you in an in-game interview last year, saying as a skinny freshman, I couldn't finish at the rim and I would cry for fouls. And that epitomizes to me what we see here in the MAAC, guys who stay around for 3 and 4 years and just develop their games.
And he's worked on his game in the offseason every year. One of the reasons why Chris Casey says he has been so improved.
Offensive foul called against Niagara, and it goes against Scott, clearing out with his forearm. 2-time MAAC Player of the Week this season. His best night was a 34-point performance February 12th against Iona. Dropped 30 on Rutgers back in November. Daniels, tough pass to handle through the hands of Alan Chiga and out of bounds.
And Niagara's changing defenses with the little 3/4 court trap back into zone, mixing man in as well. They've kept the Bobcats off kilter and haven't allowed Quinnipiac to get into anything offensively. They've been confused at times almost and settling for way too many threes.
They go to the high post. Daniels.
That's a good idea. Get the basketball inside against the zone, especially when you got a guy like Chase Daniels that can score it in there.
He's got all 4 Bobcats points. Kiss. Nice look to Daniels. That's a shot he's got to make. And a foul on the rebound.
Well, anytime you play against Quinnipiac, even though this is not a vintage rebounding Tom Moore team, you got to get after it on the offensive glass. You're right, Doug. That's a basket that Chase Daniels has got to be able to convert. But they get an extra opportunity because they work so hard on the offensive glass.
Foul against Dukes. And we should point out that the league's leading shot blocker was in his peripheral vision when he missed that shot. Dominic Robb is somebody who will make you miss a shot one way or the other. Foul on Robb, the 6'8" sophomore from Pittsburgh, and that is his 2nd personal. He came into this game 2 blocks shy of Niagara's single-season shot block record. Mark Henry back in 87, 88 set that mark. Although Dominic Robb, as he heads to the bench, has no block shots in his last 3 games. He'd only gone 1 game previous to that, Robb, without a shot block. And part of that equation is when you get into foul trouble, you can't be on the floor.
And that's happened to him recently. See Peter Kiss. Not quite the same energy from him. He's been hampered by the flu. Matter of fact, this entire Quinnipiac team had a case of the flu run through.
Scott now with a half a dozen.
Well, that time he wasn't crying and looking for a foul. He's bigger, stronger, able to finish up top.
Chiga off the spin.
Well, any kind of scoring they can get inside from anybody not named Shays Daniels, a big benefit for Quinnipiac.
Yeah, the Bobcats playing without Donovan Smith, their terrific senior setter, out with a broken foot. And so Chiga, with that first basket of the night, has already surpassed his average for the year. Chiga with the rebound. Andrew Robinson's come into the game for Quinnipiac. Daniels got it blocked on the way up. Nice job of going up straight. Ollie to the rejection. Dukes get denied by Chiga.
A good energy for Chiga. You saw the quick catch, spin, and turn, and then showing you his athleticism, making a run to come up with the block in transition. Staying with the much smaller and quicker Dukes. Used his size to swat it away.
Yeah, 6'7", 207, a senior from Cameroon who's been with this program for 4 years. Daniels goes out. Bundu has returned. Niagara with the ball, leading by 4. Here goes Scott along the baseline. In trouble, lost it. Bundu picks it up and gives it right back to Dukes. Scott, after getting his feet crossed up with one of the officials, still took the shot and missed it. Chiga spotting up from 23 feet. Stay hot, number 11.
And just his 5th 3 on the season. He's just 4 of 18 coming in, so no reason to guard him out there. That's a first made 3 for the Bobcats by a guy you certainly didn't expect it from.
So we got a 3 early from Maurice Taylor for Niagara. His first shot from distance this year. And then the answer by Chiga. And just like that, the Bobcats right back in the ballgame. In this first round game of the MAAC basketball championships, the winner will take on Monmouth. Let's go over to Rob Kennedy a moment ago with Chris Casey.
Chris, you guys were effective, especially in the first 4 minutes with your half-court trap. Will you guys stay with that?
Yeah, we will. We'll stay with that. We want to be aggressive defensively, and, you know, they're very good at getting in a rhythm of pushing the ball and going and get it off the glass. Hopefully that disrupts some of that rhythm.
And you guys got off to a quick start offensively. What do you have to do to keep that going?
We got to make some shots. I mean, we had a couple layups around the rim, and we had a couple post-ups and an open 3. Got to make a couple of those.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Rob.
And Khalil Dukes has been the chief offender for Niagara, 0 for 5, including a miss from three-point land. And as I mentioned, Rob, Dukes averaging 15.5 points per game. Talented junior guard from Hartford, Connecticut. He can get buckets when he gets going.
Yeah, and he can also get himself to the foul line. We've talked about the fact that he had a career-high 29 last time these two teams met. 12 of those were from the foul line, where he's nearly automatic. 5th best in the country at 92%. But he hasn't gotten himself to the line here tonight. He settled for a couple of jump shots. Got to figure out ways to be a little bit more aggressive off the bounce to get himself to the line.
Well, on cue, Dukes to the line, where he is on pace to break Calvin Murphy's all-time record for single-season free throw percentage at Niagara. Murphy's record of 88% has stood since the 69-70 season. Dukes, as Rob mentioned, 92%. And just brilliant at the stripe. And anytime your name is in the same sentence with a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, how about he started this season making his first 20. He's also had a streak of 17 consecutive as well this year.
So he gets his first 2 points here tonight from the stripe, and it's a 3-point Niagara lead.
And here's where, against the zone, that Quinnipiac can't just settle on the perimeter. They got to get the basketball inside, whether it's driving into lanes or getting the ball to the high post or low post. It can't just all be perimeter oriented unless, of course, Mikey Dixon just decides to shoot over top, and that works as well.
And so the presumptive MAAC Rookie of the Year knocks down the three, his first points tonight, and we are tied at 13 apiece.
But again, if that's every shot you're going to get against the zone, it's not going to work for the long haul. You got to probe and get the basketball inside.
But with the way Quinnipiac is constituted on the floor right now, as Dukes just fires up a wild shot, they really don't have, other than Chica, who has scored 5 points early, you don't have a post player where you're going to be happy to toss it inside and expect to get a good set.
As you mentioned, without Donovan Smith there, that secondary interior scorer to go along with Shays Daniels makes this team totally different. Tom Moore's teams have always really been 3 out and 2 in. They have pounded it in, but they've had to play a lot more 4 out 1 in this year.
Off the Harris miss, here is Scott with a basketball. Dukes, little teardrop. Robinson with a rebound. Shiga. Back outside Dixon. Off the side of the rim on the offensive glass, Harris. Now, Quinnipiac does lead the MAAC in offensive rebounding. Middle of the pack, though, on the defensive rebounding side this year, and not among the national leaders for the first time in a long time. 10 to shoot. Chiga working on 2. Harris again. This time finds nothing but net.
Oh, good solid defensive possession by Niagara, except for the fact that Daniels is able to bail it out. Or excuse me, Harris able to bail it out with the 3.
James Towns is checked into the game, a 5'10 freshman guard for the Purple Eagles. He comes from Detroit. Scott turns the corner. Bundu couldn't recover, and it's a nice looking layup for the junior from Brooklyn.
And that's the way you break a scoring drought, right? They can't score a field goal. We saw that graphic pop up there for a sec. You got to then go to your leading scorer. That's the guy that can bail you out and get things going in the opposite direction.
Bundu. And we're going to get an over the back foul on Dixon. Daniels will come back. Kiss as well. And we get our first look at Jaquan Jones, number 25 in gold. And I mentioned earlier, Jaquan lost his mother, Valerie Carlton, of cancer back on January 16th. She was just 39, and he really got a lot of help, emotional support from the whole team, but in particular the Robinson twins, Andrew and Aaron, who both lost their mother earlier this season as well. Their mom, Cheryl Hopkins, died in November at the age of 54. So when you're in college, you shouldn't be losing your parents at that age, and unfortunately this Quinnipiac roster has seen way too much of it.
Yeah, it's hard to go through the entire season anyway, but to have to deal with that on top of it, that is not easy.
And so surprisingly, Jaquan took some time. He lists Newburgh as his hometown, but his mom was living down in North Carolina, where a lot of the family is, so he had to spend some time down there. And that is Jones misfiring his first shot attempt. And Jones is somebody who has gotten himself a lot more playing time, as much as anything, because of the injury to Donovan Smith. And so the Bobcats need more from Jones. He comes in averaging just about a point a game at 6'7", 180. He, though, suffered a leg injury that was gruesome. Kiss with a bucket. Jaquan Jones suffered a leg injury similar to Kevin Ware's at Louisville a few years ago. Daniels blocks it out of bounds. And Jaquan Jones has actually talked to Kevin Ware about it and has overcome that. So he's had a lot to deal with here. .801 remaining first half. The winner will face Monmouth in the quarterfinal round. Good hustle by Kiss. Niagara keeps 15 to shoot. Scott pulls up. 2 battles with Daniels, and it's the Bobcats who come away with it.
That's a quickness rebound right there by Mikey Dixon.
Kiss's entry pass, if it was on the bounce, would have gotten to Daniels. Instead, it's deflected out of bounds. Quinnipiac will have it when we come back. Bobcats 18, Purple Eagles 15. At the Times Union Center, Quinnipiac with a 3-point lead, and Niagara has itself, as we've been talking about, a pretty good 1-2 combination. Dukes and Scott, they rank among the best 1-2 scoring tandems in the MAAC. Of course, Justin Robinson and Micah Seaborn setting the pace.
Yeah, Robinson and Seaborn both first-team selections earlier this week, but you're right. Matt Scott and Khalil Dukes, second best in the MAAC, just 1/10 of a point behind their Western New York counterparts over at Canisius.
And some of the numbers and names for Quinnipiac's backcourt are really something. For Mikey Dixon and Peter Kiss, who both joined the starting lineup together on December 29th. Look at that. Only Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox for Kentucky, Shamori Pons and Marcus Levette for St. John's. Lonzo Ball and TJ Leaf are ahead of them for freshman scoring tandems. And although Leaf wound up hobbling off the floor at Pauley Pavilion late last night for UCLA with an ankle injury, not sure about his status going forward, but if you've got yourself in that company, Rob, you're doing something right.
Dixon as well, top 10 in the country in freshman scorers. Yeah, he is certainly coming into the season. Tom Moore thought that Mikey Dixon was going to make a big impact for them, was really confident that he could handle the point guard responsibilities. I don't know if he realized he was going to get as much scoring as he did from Dixon.
Shane Gatling just off the Niagara bench with a layup. Now, if you're looking for scoring, if you're Niagara, he's somebody who can provide that. He went for 24 at Youngstown State back in December, but he doesn't get a lot of minutes. Robinson turns it over, and the Bobcats continue to just give the ball away.
How about we put it to the floor, like you said, a little bounce pass into the post, curl it in there. They got away with one. I thought it was a bad call when they retained possession on the last media timeout, but that time, no opportunity for the officials to get involved. Just threw it into the first row there.
Taylor gives to Scott. He's got Harris in tow. And here's Gatling, the freshman from Baldwin, New York. They thought about redshirting him this year, but he's wound up playing. Back to Taylor. Could he have possibly made 2 straight three-pointers? No. Numbers for the Bobcats. Kiss pulls up from 15. He's still looking for his first made field goal of the ball game.
But I like the way that he didn't force the three. He's not a great three-point shooter. What he is he's a terrific athlete and can elevate above guys. Play to your strengths.
Yeah, last 4 games, Peter Kiss had combined 0 for 17 from beyond the three-point line. 0 for 2 so far tonight, so you could see why maybe going up. He's thinking about it a little bit.
Yeah, don't force threes. Just because you're open doesn't mean you have to take them.
3 fresh Purple Eagles in. Dukes, Marvin Prochet for the first time, and Dwayne Powell as well for the first time. Now check that. That is Kevin Larkin who has checked in. So it's Larkin, not Powell. Prochet got his hands on that rebound and was fouled by Chiga. Well, this is a Niagara program that has produced not 1 but 2 Naismith Hall of Famers. Mentioned Calvin Murphy, class of 70 earlier, the prolific scorer, 2-time first-team All-American. But also Hubie Brown, class of 55 at Niagara, who is in the Hall of Fame more as a coach than as a player, but he was a very good player during his college days with the Purple Eagles.
Yeah, the Purple Eagles with a lot of history, some great tradition. You and I were up there a couple of years ago when they dedicated the court to Frank Layton and his wife. Coach Layton jumped on headset with us for a while. That's always fun. Nothing better than hearing from Frank Layton.
Frank, like Hubie, they were contemporaries back in the 50s, played basketball and baseball at Niagara. Double dribble against Daniels. and both wound up making their mark at the professional level off the court. Of course, Frank Layden, a terrific coach and administrator, in management, general manager for the Utah Jazz.
And one of the great funny men of basketball as well.
Yep. Yeah, and that night up at the Gallagher Center, Jerry Sloan came in.
Yeah,
I mean, we had
guys were all back.
Yeah.
It was you could see the type of impact that Frank Layden and his wife had.
Yeah.
You know, well beyond Niagara, but it was certainly palpable. You could see how much respect he had earned from his former players, both at Niagara as well as at Utah with the Jazz.
Yeah. 18-17, Bobcats with the 1-point lead. Ali 2 goes out. And Maurice Taylor has come back in. Bobcats in a 3-minute and counting drought. Kiss, terrific hesitation, then he couldn't finish. All kept alive by Daniels. Chiga couldn't get it. And it's Quinnipiac basketball.
Oh, Kiss did the hard part. Great
Yeah.
hesitation. Had himself a wide open, easy layup and instead overshot it.
Quinnipiac assistant coach Eric Eaton was on Peter Kiss early in recruiting, and that is quite often so important. Out of Monsignor Scanlon High School in the Bronx. Dixon, no. And then Kiss moved around a little bit, and Quinnipiac and its staff stayed on him. Got himself a good one. Bucket is good by Marvin Prochet, and we're down a cameraman, at least for the moment. Hard shot down there underneath the bucket. Looks like everybody's okay as play continues. Niagara in front by a point, and Kiss earns a trip to the line. Kevin Larkin didn't like the foul call, but picks it up.
Well, here's how you got to go attack. You got to go strong, not worry about contact. Look at those guys running from behind. And as you said, we lost the camera for a second. Bounced right back up.
Absolutely. Craig should put in for a little combat pay.
Checking his eyes out there for a little bit, making sure he's all right. The cameramen have to go through concussion protocol.
Never heard of it, but it might be warranted with those eyes. Dixon leaves the ball game. Winston is back out there for Quinnipiac. And the folks from Hamden, Connecticut are back in front, 2019. If you're struggling with your shot, getting yourself to the free throw line quite often can be an elixir. Dukes able to get his first made field goal. And Niagara back in front.
As you said, he's a guy that can find buckets, not just three-point shots. It's a creative finish as he was driving.
Now, last couple of games of the regular season, he was only 2 for 9 combined from the floor, only scored a total of 8 points in those 2 games.
And he wasn't even taking shots. He had just 2 shot attempts in the regular season finale. It's hard to believe. Talking to Chris Casey earlier today, he said, hey, I'd rather see him go 4 for 15 than 0 for 2. He's got to be aggressive. They need his scoring.
Well, upon leaving USC, Dukes considered Hofstra, Maine, and Longwood University before settling on Niagara. Never really played too much in his 2 years at SC. Prochet banks it in. Niagara back in front. The seesaw continues. Winston finds the cutting Daniels, who is fouled. Larkin picks up his second personal in his final media timeout of the first half. Competitive ball game here in Game 1 of the 2017 MAAC Championships. Men's and women's basketball championships here in Albany, and good seats still available for every session here at the Times Union Center. And I'll be curious for the 9:30 quarterfinals Saturday night between Siena and Fairfield. Of course, this is Siena's home building, Rob, and that has been added to ESPNU's schedule for that night. So it's a little bit later than you'd normally have. Siena draws real well. Their last 2 regular season home games, they drew in excess of 7,000 fans per night. So I would think we'll have a good crowd. But you know that 9:30 late tip on Saturday doesn't always tip exactly on time. And I know the good folks here in the Capital Region are well aware of that. So if it's going to be on ESPNU, who knows?
Yeah, certainly if it's a 7 o'clock game, you've got you can almost guarantee you're going to hit certain numbers as far as attendance is concerned, but the wild card is being that second game.
But with that said, it's a nice feather in the cap for the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference that the good folks at ESPN have selected that game to fill out their roster of games from all around the country on Saturday night. I'll tell you, I was talking to a couple of the Siena players, Levon Long, before their game at Monmouth last week about the excitement they had as Prochet misses. First time since they were freshmen to play on ESPN2, and it's a fact not lost on them that guys in this league don't get that opportunity all that much, and so you can rest assured that the folks from Fairfield and the folks from Siena, the players, are very excited even more so about the opportunity on ESPNU Saturday night. Peter Kiss ridden to the ground, and the foul goes against Barton. And so Peter Kiss gets himself back to the foul line. First foul on Barton, the 8th against Niagara, so a 1-and-1 here for the 6'5" freshman. And he's a 4-time MAAC Rookie of the Week, Rob, so you know, about 3 weeks ago maybe you could have made a case for him surpassing his backcourt mate Dixon for Rookie of the Year, but pretty clear Dixon wrestled that award back.
Yeah, by averages 21 a game over their last 4 games and finished it up with 28 in the regular season finale. But certainly that combo, 1-2 punch of the freshman backcourt, certainly makes things for a bright future here at Quinnipiac.
And there the two of them are once again getting together in the lane. Had a game earlier this year at Quinnipiac where the two of them were just out quietly pregame, the two of them by themselves at one end of the floor, just shooting. A relationship that, if they're able to stay together, should flourish over the next 3 years. Dukes with the foul shot. And 1 for 9 from the floor. Not a good start, but like you said, Chris Casey telling you, I'll take that over 0 for 2.
Yeah, just be aggressive, make things happen. And you know he can string them together. That 29, the career high he had last time against Quinnipiac. 23 of those were in the second half when they made the furious comeback.
And he's a guy who scored over 2,200 points at Capital Prep Magnet School back in Hartford. Kiss for 3.
And that is a terrific find by Shays Daniels out of the double team in a post to find a wide open Peter Kiss. And that time Kiss had plenty of time to tee it up.
First made field goal for Kiss. And as we said, that's his first made 3 in a couple of weeks. Taylor withstands the little push in the back. Missed the layup, though. Daniels with a baseball pass.
A good block by Daniels. I think he got a piece of that.
Another good chance for Kiss. He couldn't convert. Dukes around Chiga. Tries to get fancy, and it's knocked out of bounds. Niagara will keep on the baseline.
Yeah, hard to throw that wraparound behind the back pass when you've got defensive pressure coming up your back. Not a wise decision there. See right here, he goes by the defender, so he's behind you. So what do? You give them an opportunity to get a deflection because you take it behind your back.
Barton with the step back. He's somebody who can space the floor if he's knocking down shots. Tied at 27. He shoots threes at nearly 50%. That was a 2, his first 2 points of the night. Chiga, bad pass. Good read by Dukes to play defensive back. Uses the Prochet screen, and Scott goes right to the bucket, and he missed a layup. Oh, as Coach Casey told you when you talked to him during that break, they're missing a lot of easy shots. Winston spots up. 1 minute remaining in the half.
Yeah, neither team has shot the ball very well here in the first 20 minutes. Good effort, good energy both sides, but not a whole lot of execution, especially on the half court and the offensive side.
And so Niagara calls a 30-second timeout to try and get a good look and this time convert. Fans tune into ESPN3 on Friday, March 3rd. That is tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. to watch the MAAC men's and women's basketball postseason award show where all major award winners will be announced. Although, Rob Kennedy, you can tell us all of your winners right now if you'd like. We've already said Dixon for Rookie of the Year.
Yep.
We've already said Justin Robinson for Player of the Year.
Yep.
Coach of the Year you've got?
Well, it's a two-man race in my mind. King Rice, Monmouth going 18-2, and then John Dunn with St. Peter's finishing in second place after being preseason picked to finish in fourth. And what he's done not only this season but in his tenure at St. Peter's is really impressive. So certainly going to be one of those two guys. You and I have both talked about that if we had a vote, our Defensive Player of the Year would be Chaz Patterson from St. Peter's, the best defender on the best defensive team. How about sixth man? What do you got with that one?
Yeah, that's the one that we hadn't talked about before is Duke's misfires.
It's the one I paid the least attention to, by the way.
Yeah, and it's hard to quantify a lot of times because guys are in and out of the starting lineup.
Yeah, and certainly there'll be a couple of guys. There's a guy like Nico Claris who left for 7 games. If I was a coach, I wouldn't be voting for somebody who left his team for 7 games, but certainly statistically might be the best guy coming off the bench to score it.
Well, he won that award last year as a freshman. I'd be surprised if he got it this year, but you're right, the numbers might push him to it. Kiss. No. Under 10 seconds to go in the half. Winston picks it up. Goes right to the rim. He can't get the roll. Purple Eagles looking to get off a shot, and Barton didn't seem to understand what he needed to do.
And that pretty much sums up how things went offensively for both teams on that last possession. A miss point blank on one side for Quinnipiac after hustling, working hard to get the offensive rebound, but not able to convert. And then Niagara should have been able to get a shot off to try and build on the 2-point lead heading into halftime.
Well, the 8 and 9 seeds fighting for the right to play the number 1 seed, Monmouth Hawks, in the quarterfinals. That game will be 7 o'clock tomorrow night on ESPN3. We've reached halftime with the Bobcats and the Eagles playing a good one. Niagara up 2. Niagara by 2 as we get started for the second half. Let's go over to Rob with Shays Daniels.
Shays, neither team really able to establish any kind of rhythm offensively in the first half. How do you change that in the second half for you guys?
I mean, we just got to keep going. We got to keep trying to execute the game plan. All year we've been pretty good offensively. You know, this game we're more focused on defense, trying to hold them under 40% to try to get us a win.
And when you guys have been able to rebound and run and get out in transition, you have been better. How are you guys going to be able to make sure that you don't make it a half-court game in the second half?
You know, we just got to play defense. You know, we got to dig down, find it in ourselves to win this game. Defense wins championships.
All right, thanks, Shays.
Thank you.
And based on that, the Bobcats should feel good about the fact that they've held Niagara to only 34% shooting in that first half. Niagara should feel good about the fact that they get Dominic Robb back after he played only 6 minutes thanks to 2 personal fouls in that first.
And also the fact that Khalil Dukes was 1 for 10 from the field, and you've got a 2-point lead.
Bobcats with the basketball first. Here's Daniels over Rob, no. The stick back is good by Daniel Harris.
And I can guarantee you at halftime that Tom Moore was talking to his team about rebound, because that was not a very good rebounding first half for Quinnipiac.
Harris for 3. 5 quick points for the senior.
Well, those 5 quick points are both off rebounds. An offensive rebound and then a defensive rebound that allowed him to get out in transition.
So a very fast 45-second start to the second half for Quinnipiac. Niagara gives it back on a slow start, and they've surrendered the lead, 32-29 Quinnipiac.
Now up in the 3/4 court pressure. They had some success with this in the first half.
Foul on the pass. Well, this is Quinnipiac's 4th MAAC tournament as Dukes picks up his second foul. And Tom Moore's clubs over the years have lost opening round games each of the last 2 years to Marist and Ryder. The only time that Quinnipiac has won a MAAC tournament game as Bundu misfires was in its first year in the conference when they beat the Niagara Purple Eagles. Three-point bucket is good by Chris Barton, and we're tied once again. That is the 7th tie of this game. The largest lead was 7. Niagara jumped out to an early 9-2 lead. How about Harris? He is feeling it.
And that was a call from the sideline to get him another shot, figuring that he's hit the last couple. Ride the hot hand.
Played a couple of years at Hillsborough Community College down in Florida as Rob draws the foul on Daniels.
That's where Rob's got a sense that he's got Big Shays Daniel right over his left shoulder. That's where you got to turn and be able to finish with the left hand. Instead, forced it back in. He was lucky to be bailed out with the foul call.
Just the first foul on Daniels. And so Dominic Robb, sophomore from Pittsburgh, gets his first point. He's got a 7-foot, 1-inch wingspan. And they say he once blocked 11 shots in a single high school game back at North Catholic.
And then had a good prep school year at the Hun School in New Jersey. One of the reasons why he was able to get a Division I scholarship.
Daniels got Robb off his feet, and Robb has quickly picked up his 3rd personal. So, Coach Casey, what do you do here?
I think they got that on 20 on Taylor.
Good call.
Robb will stay on the floor. But I like the way that Shays Daniel, as soon as he caught, faced up, see what you got. He's got Robb right there. So instead of pulling up for the 12-foot jump shot, puts it to the floor, try to put some more pressure on the defense.
Again, I apologize. That was not on Robb. It went on Taylor. So still 2 fouls on Robb. And on Taylor, that is his first. So Robb stays in the game and grabs the defensive board. Taylor driving on Bundu. Much more aggressive at the offensive end tonight.
I tell you what, he's been aggressive every time he's touched it. That was a heck of a drive coming right from the 3-point line. On the swing back to him, he really attacked.
7 points for the senior from Cambridge, Mass. Kiss winds up turning it over along the baseline. Chiga will come back in. And Bundu goes out. What do you make of Tom Moore's rotation of his quote-unquote bigs? Again, they're playing without Donovan Smith, so Shays Daniel's really the only presence that you can count on. What do you think about what he has left in the rotation and how he's able to use these guys?
Well, you can tell he's searching. He's searching for somebody to step up and do something. And when you're struggling, that's what happens. When you see teams that use multiple different starting lineups or rotations, it's because you're struggling. Quinnipiac's lost 6 in a row, so just trying to figure out who can give you some extra scoring.
Foul 2 on Harris. Looks like Duke's got the worst of that exchange. Now while we're watching the replay, the two of them, nice sign of sportsmanship. They give each other a little low 5. Harris will go out. And Phil Winston returns. And Quinnipiac also again playing this game without Reggie Oliver. Their junior guard is back home in Florida because of the death of his grandmother. Blocking foul. Chiga picks it up, and again the activity for Taylor turning out well for Niagara.
Yeah, as we said, he's been aggressive, moving without the basketball. It all starts, though, with him setting screens, and so the defense then is jumping out to the guy who's coming off the screen. He just shaped right back up, stepped to the open area. Smart basketball, but he's been aggressive.
There's Coach Casey, who was a 6-year assistant coach under Norm Roberts at St. John's University. Coach Casey's been around the MAAC before his current tenure at Niagara as well. He was a St. Peter's assistant coach for the '91 team under Ted Fiore. They went to the NCAA tournament, and then he was also an assistant under Roger Blind 4 years later when the Peacocks represented the MAAC.
And a couple of head coaching stints as well at Rutgers Newark at the Division III level, and then prior to coming to Niagara, had a good 3-year run at LIU Post, taking Post to 2 NCAA tournaments in his 3 years.
And his stated goal at the start of the year and throughout is, again, he and his staff realize we can't continue to lose players to transfer.
Yep.
And the total is really eye-opening. 23 guys have left since he took the job. And if they can keep this core together, they certainly should be able to start to move up the MAAC standings.
Yeah, continuity right now is the most important thing for the Purple Eagles.
Scott, no, Rob had it. But it looked like they called him out of bounds. Daniels, Scott flops. Offensive foul.
Well, you knew it was a flop, but apparently the officials did not, and you were right. I mean, this is a good post up inside by Daniels. He turns. I don't like that call at all. He's down before contact even comes. Smart play by Scott because he's not going to be able to defend him inside there, but I think the officials bid on that.
Is that another case, Rob, as Dukes does a nice job to free himself for 2? They call it a 2. One official says 3, the other says 2. They'll review it. A 3 at the other end by Alan Chiga.
Hey, don't look now. All of a sudden, we got ourselves a little offense going both ways. Chiga with his second made 3 of the game. He had 4 makes on the entire season coming in. Go figure.
Scott to double figures. The lead, at least for the moment, is 3.
They got to get Mikey Dixon on track offensively. Good job defensively, though, by Niagara to not allow that to happen.
I don't think Dixon has even taken a 2-point shot yet tonight.
No, he was 1 for 5 from 3 in the first half, and he's not really gotten any good looks here in the second.
Nice rhythm jump hook by Dominic Robb. The lead is back to 5.
And this is where Quinnipiac has had problems here in this 6-game losing streak. When things have gone south for them, they've gotten their head down and they've allowed that to continue. You got to fight back. That's the only way that you're able to get through some adversity.
That foul will go against Taylor, and we'll head to break. Nearly 5 minutes gone here in the second half. Purple Eagles by 5. It's on MAAC News, scores, standings, and videos straight to your mobile device. Go to the Apple App Store or Google Play to download tonight, or visit MAACsports.com/mobile for more information. With Rob Kennedy, I'm Doug Sherman here at the Times Union Center in downtown Albany. And Rob, you got from Ron Tyberski, the official, the word 3 or 2?
3. Went back and took a look at it on tape, which is one of those new rules where you go back and don't stop play to get to the next media timeout. So indeed it was a 3-point basket, so Niagara up by 5.
Quinnipiac with the basketball. Chase Daniels lost the dribble. Nice job by Dukes to dig it out, but he was on the baseline touching the ball, so Quinnipiac catches a break. No change of possession, so 25 on the shot clock. Rusty Cooper, the official, and Daniel Harris having a little fun while they get the floor cleaned up. Harris should be smiling. He's had a hot hand here in the second half. Daniels, another miss in close. 3-on-2 Niagara. Dukes wide open. And Daniels, good hustle to grab the rebound.
And he didn't have the elevation that he usually has on that jump shot. You can see he's trying to will it in. Dukes now 2 of 12 from the floor.
And he comes in at 43% on the year from three-point range, so he certainly can do it, just hasn't been quite right lately. Taylor with a rebound. Daniels hits the deck. That gives Niagara a chance for numbers, and without a rim protector, Barton has a chance for 3.
Oh, you're right. With Daniels not able to make the trip, a lot easier for Niagara to pound the basketball inside. And when you do, and you've got an opportunity to show the basketball, right there, the ball fake gets Daniels off his feet, not once, but twice, and then able to convert. Nice finish by Barton through contact.
And so the sophomore from Pontiac, Michigan, out of Avondale High School, at the line. That foul was on Harris, his 3rd. Barton's having himself a nice game with 9. And this is the largest lead of the ball game at 8. Kiss, open 3. Yes!
Well, that's what you got to do against the pressure. You've got to be able to score it at the back end, because if you don't, just taking care of the basketball and not turning it over is not enough. You got to make teams pay for trying to stretch the floor defensively. Wow, boy, did Barton go attack the rim on that. A lot more pace on the offensive end here in the first couple of minutes of the second half than we had throughout the entire first half.
Daniels gets a good look and connects.
He just got himself too deep.
Well, 6'9", 240, he is by far the biggest guy on the floor.
And he's really improved his offensive skills and his ability to score it inside from when he was a freshman to now as a junior.
Taylor goes up and over. Still fighting for the ball. It comes to Scott, who finds himself open for 3.
Well, Niagara has fought all game long on the offensive glass. Another extra opportunity there just because of the effort.
Robinson gets those 3 back for Quinnipiac.
That's what he does. He's a guy that can make it from beyond the 3-point line. But Quinnipiac's got to get some stops at this end of the floor. It's become too easy for Niagara on the offensive side.
See the second half 3-point shots. It's amazing how games change like that. Scott no on the spin. Taylor had it blocked by Daniels.
Taylor's closing in on double-figure rebounds.
And again, in the first half, these two teams, Rob, combined 4 for 16 on 3-pointers. This half, they can't miss. Daniels with Scott defending. Double team comes. Daniels called for travel. Bundu and Winston in, Kiss and Daniels out. James Towns will take the place of Khalil Dukes. Dominic Robb hustles to the scorer's table. He'll give Taylor a blow. I almost get the feel in this game, Rob, if one team can have one sustained run, that could be it.
And that's how each of these 2 games went. You know, Quinnipiac was down first time they met, down by 14 late, and made a big run to finish off the ball game with the game winner by Mikey Dixon. And in the second game, it was a long extended run early that got Quinnipiac the 26-point lead, and they were able to hold on.
Towns is fouled, and we'll have free throws when we come back to the Times Union Center in Albany. In the lead, let's now get the thoughts of Bobcats head coach Tom Moore.
Tom, you guys have gotten beat up a little bit on the backboards here as of late. How do you clean that up?
Our guards, we're getting really strung out on Dukes and Scott. They're really good with the ball. purposely we're getting strung out. We're having our bigs hold on the ball screen action a little longer. So our guards have to be a little stronger and bigger on those guys rolling to the offensive glass.
And Mikey Dixon's been your leader, scoring it throughout the year, but he's struggling here, 1 for 5. What can you do a little different to try and get him going offensively?
Well, I think we're going to try to run some more ball screen stuff down the stretch and try to turn the corner a little bit more. And I think sometimes when we run continuous ball screen stuff, it gets us more aggressive. Sometimes we find him open on the weak side.
All right, thanks, Tom.
All right, thanks, Rob.
NCAA March Madness heads back to Buffalo later this month, March 16th and 18th, and you can be there to share the experience with your family and friends. Visit ncaa.com/MBB tickets for ticket and hospitality options. That is Western New York, about 4 hours from here, where we sit in the capital region. And there is one of the all-time greats in Niagara history, Tyrone Lewis, who a decade ago was the MVP of this event. He helped lead Joe Mihalik's Purple Eagles to the NCAA tournament, Rob, for the second time in 3 years, and he still looks like he could go for 30 tonight.
He looks like he could get out there and play. He's enjoying his time now. Played overseas for a while. Got a chance to talk to him a couple of times throughout the season. Really enjoying his new role, being able to mentor guys. And when he talks about effort, energy, and how hard he played,
you know it.
Yeah, if you see some tapes of how Tyrone Lewis went at it, you're going to bring the energy and the effort yourself. And that's what Niagara's done here. And they have had more effort and energy than Quinnipiac has had.
And a couple players flanking Coach Lewis, giving him the business. He looked up on the Jumbotron. He's like, what are they saying about me? But a decade ago, there was no
It's all
explosive.
good. Tell them it's all good. We're all saying good stuff.
And they're still giving it to him on the bench. No more explosive talent out of a backcourt position in the MAAC. And again, Joe Mihalik had quite a run there. Remember 2 years earlier, back in 05, when Juan Mendez was the MAAC tournament MVP, and they also went on to the NCAAs. That 05 championship was here in this building. 07 was in Bridgeport. But Niagara certainly knows its way around the Times Union Center. They would love to pick up this win and get a chance to take down the regular season champs tomorrow. The winner of this game gets Monmouth in the quarterfinals. Well, here's Mikey Dixon. What'd you take from what Coach told you about trying to get Dixon going?
Well, I like the idea of putting him in high ball screens and get him attacking and getting into the basket against the zone there. At least on that possession, not like the possession before, they finally get the basketball into the paint area. Way too much on the perimeter against the zone defense.
And you know, you just said, rather than paint, you said paint area or painted area. You know who made that a popular phrase? Niagara alumnus, Hubie Brown.
There you go.
It's all about the painted area. Peter Kiss on the grab. Prochet asking for a intentional foul, not going to get it. Right, when did it become the painted area? So the paint was okay, the lane was okay, now it's the painted area. There it is, not even painted here in this building.
It's clear. Well, now it's the different shadings of the stains on the floor.
Much more subtle.
Yes.
You know what, Alan Chiga.
Before long, we'll have to call it the stained area.
Stained area, right, and then they'll change it again, they'll go back to painting it. We've got to mention that Alan Chiga has himself a new career high. He has shattered his old career high. Senior from Cameroon has 11 points. His previous career high was 7 against Vermont a couple of seasons ago.
You always talk about the fact that seniors don't want their career to end. Certainly, he's done his part. He needs some of his freshman teammates to step up and do what they've done throughout the season, and that's lead them in scoring. Mikey Dixon, I don't think he's got a shot attempt here in the second half.
Until that deep three that he buries.
And he gets the open look because of the ball fake on the pass, gets the defense moving. That was his first shot attempt here in the second half. At least he made it good.
Rob, I think his only 2 made threes, you have been in the process of saying they should do something, and he's made it both times.
So in other words,
you should
Tom Moore would like me to say that more often.
No question. No question. Chiga gets called for the foul off of Rob Kennedy's urging.
We'll see that pass fake is what gets the defender off him just enough to be able to get the look.
And that foul was number 4 on Chiga, and so he'll head to the bench, and Daniel Harris comes back in. Harris has had a good night at the offensive end with 11 points. And Barton has provided a nice spark, especially here in the second half. The youngest child of Tanisha and Chris Barton in the Detroit area. Duke's in, Scott out. Scott's been quiet so far here in the second half. Shane Gatling returns. Barton goes out.
Chris Casey's been able to use his bench a little bit more so than Quinnipiac has. A couple of these freshmen, Peter Kiss and Mikey Dixon, have played tons of minutes as the season has gone on, and that's always a concern. How are they going to be able to fight their way through it? Looks like with the losing streak, they may have lost some gas late, but no gas lost right there.
Rob, the turnover. Dixon gets his first 2-point bucket of the night. Back to a 3-point game. Well, we have seen time and again where Dixon and or Kiss can get on a run all by themselves. Towns probing, gets it back out to Dukes.
Rob has a mismatch, but they can't get it to him.
Towns, as the buzzer sounded, Rob on the rebound. Dukes back to Towns, same spot. Second time's a charm.
Now Dukes is not feeling it from 3, so he's smart about it. Show the basketball, make the extra pass, and with plenty of time to spot it up, they get it in.
Cross court to Robinson. And Prochet's got it. Towns hustles it into the front court.
Good decision.
Yeah, had no one with him.
Yep. Duke's calling for the high ball screen from Rob.
Gets it and finishes.
Now on the switch, he knows he's got a quickness advantage. Certainly Daniels has the size, but Duke's able to scoot by him.
Timeout, Quinnipiac. We'll step away from the Times Union Center. Niagara looking to punch its ticket into the MAAC quarterfinals. The defensive struggle in the first half has opened up quite a lot here in the second.
Yeah, both teams getting started offensively. Both have been really good from beyond the three-point line, but more energy from Niagara. Offensive rebounds, couple hustle plays, couple of steals, leak outs. This is a Quinnipiac team right now that's in the midst of a 6-game losing streak, and I was talking about it before. When things go south on you, who's going to step up, be the leader to change that? You got to fight through adversity. Every time they get themselves down, there's a good timeout. Tom Moore absolutely needed it right there. Let's see if his team can respond and show a little bit more energy, show a little bit more fight here.
Well, there are only 2 seniors on the Quinnipiac active roster as Robinson misfires. And you got to wonder what's going through the minds of Daniel Harris and Alan Chiga trying to extend their college careers, but now they find themselves down by 10.
And it's all been effort here in the second half by Niagara.
Winston missed the layup. Towns back the other way. And again, he waits for his teammates to join him. Towns feeling it.
And again, the nice find by Dukes as Towns able to knock down a couple of threes here.
He went for 17 in a non-leaguer against Drexel back in November when he went 5 for 6. Towns has that sort of shooting ability.
Mikey Dixon's got to make something happen. That's not making something happen. You're on a 10-0 run on the wrong side of it. Game's in jeopardy. Your best player's got to step up. I don't care if he's a freshman or a senior. Your best guy's got to play like the best guy.
Taylor against a triple team with a shot that had no chance of going in.
They need that.
Front rim Robinson. Harris, he's in a tough spot. Do they grant the timeout? No. And on the alternate possession off the held ball, it's Niagara possession. Perhaps a quick timeout could have kept the basketball for the Bobcats. Instead, down 13 and in a tough spot against James Towns and the Niagara Purple Eagles. On the men's side, this is the first of 3 first-round games being played tonight here in Albany. The only quarterfinal matchup that is already set is the 4-5 game Saturday night, Siena and Fairfield. And Rob, we haven't talked about the inherent advantage for finishing either first or second in the regular season. It's shown there. Monmouth and St. Peter's get to play their quarterfinal games on Friday, and presuming they both win, they would then get a day off between the quarterfinal and their semifinal game.
And I'm all for giving the regular season champion as well as the second place finisher any advantage that you can. You play 20 games throughout the regular season. I think there's got to be, besides seeding, there's got to be something else that you get when you have a great regular season.
That inbounds pass hit the side of the backboard. And now the inbounder, Marvin Prochet, is saying it was deflected by Quinnipiac.
Yeah, I'd have to see that one again.
I think the officials could use another look too.
I also thought that the inbounder coming out of the media timeout traveled along the baseline. Looked like he took a step before he threw the basketball. That play was disjointed the entire way.
Fourth foul on Harris, and that is the 10th team foul against Quinnipiac here in the second half. So 2 free throws upcoming for the young man out of Henry Ford High School in Detroit, James Towns. He won a high school Class B Michigan State Championship last year, first in school history, after having lost in the finals the year before. And he's been a good offensive spark here as Niagara has now stretched this lead to 14. Couple of free throws for Towns. Gives him double figures, and the lead is 15.
Niagara back into the zone, and they have really kept Quinnipiac on the perimeter. That time at least Kiss, by putting the ball to the floor, gets into a gap.
He certainly has the size and physical ability to get there.
And then he usually finishes when he does, although we've seen him leave a couple of short tonight.
That foul was on Dukes, his third, as Harris hits for 3.
Now let's see if Quinnipiac, with the full court pressure, can create and manufacture some energy.
Towns alone again. Good closeout by Dixon.
And look who comes up with it, Taylor. He got things started with those 5 quick points. He's in double-figure rebounds, and rebounding has certainly been the advantage to the Purple Eagles.
No reset of the shot clock on that air ball, so Towns has to go, and that he does.
And Niagara has made good on those extra opportunities on the offensive glass. When was the last time, Doug, you saw a Quinnipiac team get out-rebounded by double figures on the backboards? Down 12 right now. One of the reasons why they're down 14 on the scoreboard.
If that's on Chiga, that's his 5th, and he is staring at potentially the end of his college career.
As you said earlier, Doug, he has a new career high. He gave him good effort, energy here tonight. Just didn't get enough from his teammates.
And so unless his teammates can erase this 14-point deficit, Chiga has played his last game as a Bobcat. Marvin Prochet coming off his career-high performance in the finale Sunday against Fairfield, when he dropped 22 on the Stags. Gets the roll on the first. High school power, Long Island Lutheran. Prochet's a Brooklyn native, couple of free throws. The lead is back to 16, and there is Chiga after having fouled out. 5.5 minutes to go. Towns called for the foul. He cut in front of Kiss and is called for the block. Just the 6th-team foul against Niagara, so a non-shooting foul. Andrew Robinson, Mikey Dixon, Daniel Harris, Shays Daniels, and Peter Kiss, the 5 on the floor for the Bobcats.
There's where you got to go against the zone. You got to get the big guy touches. The zone right now, you're worried about three-point shooting, so they're going to be so spread. You got to get the ball into the high post or into the paint.
Kiss went for the steal, but gets called for the foul.
Just a little late getting there. Remember, we talked about the fact that Kiss has been fighting the flu. He's had limited practice time the last week or so.
He was a unanimous selection for the MAAC All-Rookie team announced earlier this week, along with Mikey Dixon. There's the 6'5" rookie from New York City. And ever since he joined the starting lineup back in late December, his numbers have gone up. His best performance points-wise, 23 against these Niagara Purple Eagles early last month. Kiss. It's a great look and stroke. I'm surprised he doesn't shoot a better percentage.
Yeah, just 27% for beyond 3. Mostly because he was struggling so much in the last 8 games, was just 4 of 30 from deep coming in. So his percentage earlier in the season was up. He's got himself in one of those shooting slumps late.
We had a perfect angle for that. Great release, great rotation. Taylor, no. Here comes Kiss. Quinnipiac down 12, trying to make one more push. Dixon for 3. And the scramble comes to Niagara.
And they've got numbers.
Towns blocked. Daniels, great job. Here's Kiss stepping back, tries to draw the call.
You need good possessions right there. You're trying to cut into it. I know he was thinking that maybe he'd get 3. You just got to make yourself in a position where you get yourself a better look at the basket.
And that last stretch there, Rob, had a little playground feel to it.
Yes.
Back and forth. You can sense the desperation on Tom Moore's club.
And also the frustration on Tom Moore. He ended up getting teed up. He was looking much like Peter Kiss was. He was looking for that call to get to the line for 3. I thought it was a good non-call.
Well, no question who you'd send to the free throw line, as Peter, Khalil Dukes at 92% does his thing at the line. Now you see the numbers for Dixon and Kiss down considerably from what we've seen most of the year. Scott turns the corner, and the foul on the shot. .352 to go in regulation. Niagara getting closer to a spot in the MAAC quarterfinals. Terrific balance in this ball game for Coach Casey's Purple Eagles. 14 points for Towns, 13 apiece for Scott, Dukes, and Barton. But then again, Rob, you and I keep coming back to Maurice Taylor. He's got 8 points, but the energy, 14 rebounds to lead the way for a Niagara team that has dominated the glass against these Bobcats.
Yeah, plus 12, and that just shows you what kind of effort and energy that they've had, especially in the second half.
Scott perfect on the first. There is Maurice Taylor Jr., who originally committed out of Ringen Latin High School in Cambridge, Mass. to North Carolina A&T. Spent his freshman year with the Aggies, playing in 28 games before deciding to chart a new path. That pass from Dixon right to the hands of Scott, who bounces it up ahead. And the layup by Chris Barton.
They've had really good scoring balance. A lot of different guys have contributed.
Robinson. Dukes gets pushed to the floor, and that goes against Daniel Harris. And I believe that is his 5th personal. So both seniors on Quinnipiac's active roster done, both fouled out.
Yeah, both guys, though, in double figures here in their last game.
Yeah, Harris finishes with 14 points. And as mentioned, Chiga with a career high 10. And so now Harris, he is officially replaced in the lineup by Phil Winston. And Dukes shooting 2.
Now, he may have struggled from the field, just 3 of 14, but he's been perfect at the line. Make it 8 for 8.
And so each of the trio that had 13 points a minute ago, Dukes, Scott, and Barton, they've all got 15. Robinson, he has not been able to get going tonight. Scott with the run out. Winston draws the foul. If you coach Casey, do you take your starters out at this point with the idea that, boy, we got to try and keep up with the highest scoring team in the league tomorrow?
Yeah, up by 20, time to get, even though it's 3 minutes for coaches, sometimes they can't survive 3 minutes with emptying the bench. But, yeah, you got to start thinking about getting guys some extra minutes. But Chris has been able to utilize his bench throughout the game, so he's had guys coming in and out. One of the reasons why I think their energy has been better, he's had the longer bench here tonight.
Yeah, no doubt. We've seen considerable minutes for Gatling, Towns, 2, and Larkin off the bench, which we normally don't see as much of.
And all those guys have contributed as well. And remember, Marvin Prochet not in the starting lineup, so he as well has given him some scoring off the bench.
Four to shoot. Dukes. Taylor and Winston tangled, and the foul goes against Niagara. Third on Taylor, and the 8th team foul. And so Winston will shoot a 1-and-1. Phil Winston, the junior from Lakewood, Washington, had been on quite a roll coming into the tournament. Last 5 games of the regular season, averaging nearly 11 per game, and until the last couple of minutes, they got no points from him. Easily broken once again. The pressure, that's 3 straight times. Niagara has had zero problem getting the ball to the front court.
Now they got the ball right in against the pressure defense to the middle of the floor. And as soon as you get the ball into the middle of the floor against the press, you've got options to be able to distribute to the left or right side. You're able to go attack. And then when you got a guy that's fifth best in the country from the foul line, put it in his hands. You knew eventually we might get him off stride. Now 8 of 9, but if he hits this, he's pretty much at his season percentage average of 92% on the season, fifth best in the country. So 9 out of 10. Just a ho-hum day for him.
And again, he's on pace, Rob, to break the school record for single-season free throws that has stood since 1970 by Calvin Murphy. So again,
and think about Calvin Murphy. As great of a player as he was, one of the best foul shooters in the history of the NBA.
Yeah. .2:15 to go. Our next first-round game is scheduled to begin at 7 o'clock. Obviously, we won't have that happen. Canisius and Marist will come up following the conclusion of this one. And then the nightcap will be Ryder against Manhattan. 5 to shoot.
That's where Taylor was a little too unselfish. He had caught the basketball right underneath the basket. You got to go up and score it instead. A violation on the shot clock.
Daniels leans in. Ball tipped back to Winston. His pass goes out of bounds. Last to touch was Scott.
And for Quinnipiac, certainly a tough way to end the season. This will be their 7th consecutive loss. And Tom Moore's team has had success throughout his 10-year tenure. And with those 2 freshman guards, though, it certainly gives you some hope they can build around both Mikey Dixon and Peter Kiss. They've got to find another big to go along with Shays Daniel inside. You add a couple of pieces, and this thing could turn around quickly for Quinnipiac because of those 3 guys who've been pretty consistent all season long. They just have not had enough guys to add to the contribution of those big 3.
Yeah, because Donovan Smith, the other member of the senior class who is not able to play because of a broken foot, you lose him as well. Robinson gets the kiss, miss, and then lost it. 1 minute. Pressure broken over the top of his team. Scott will hold it on his hip. Barton misses. There's Taylor with another offensive rebound, and he goes to the deck and calls timeout.
Well, I just love the way he brought the energy. First time he caught the basketball, stepped back, took and made his first 3-point shot of the entire season, and he's had that kind of energy all night long.
The Taylor family has a lot of talent. He's a coach's kid. His father, Maurice Sr., and Maurice Jr.'s younger brother, Jaquil, is a 6'10 sophomore at Purdue. Here's what's to come on the ESPN networks from the MAAC Championships in Albany. Everything on ESPN3 as always. And then that one men's quarterfinal Saturday night, 9:30 between Siena and Fairfield will be on ESPNU. And then Monday, the women's championship, 5 o'clock on ESPNU. And then the men's title game, ESPN2, 9 o'clock tip. And we are 30 seconds away from having our field of 11 knocked down to 10. As Quinnipiac is on the verge of extinction for 2016-17. Greg Tarka has checked into the game, a junior from Montgomery, New Jersey for Quinnipiac. Get his name in the box score. Cameron Young as well. Scott with the bucket. Tarka fires, and that does it for the Bobcats. Their season comes to an end while Niagara advances to take on regular season champion Monmouth in the quarters.
Chris Casey's team had good energy, and then they got things going on the offensive end there in the second half. Had just 29 points at halftime, an offensive explosion for the Purple Eagles here in the second half.
Great balance. Matt Scott led the way with 19 points. James Towns, a key 14 points off the bench. Niagara survives and advances. Back with our post-game report right after this.